They told me I wasn't family anymore, not in a fit of anger, not during a messy argument, but in cold, premeditated clarity. I was 19, jobless, and recovering from surgery when they sat me down and handed me an envelope. It wasn't money. It was a printed eviction notice. "We love you," they said, "but you're an adult now. It's time we prioritize the real family." By real family, they meant my older sister. The golden child. The one who racked up 6 figures in debt, had 3 kids by 2 different men, and crashed every car she touched. She got a brand new SUV. I got the curb. They cut me off, ghosted me, and when I hit rock bottom, they didn't even answer the phone. That was 5 years ago. Now I'm a multimillionaire. My name's on buildings, magazines, and the Forbes under 30 list. And guess who just showed up at my office, begging for help to save their home from foreclosure? Yeah. Them. And this time, I'm the one holding the envelope. I still remember the smell of cinnamon candles. It was a Sunday afternoon, one of those fake cozy days when the house smells like a Pinterest post, but the air is sharp with tension you can't quite name yet. The sun poured through the big living room window, spotlighting dust particles dancing in the air like they had no idea they were about to become part of a tragedy. I was sitting on the couch, legs curled under me, wearing sweatpants and the hoodie I practically lived in since the surgery. The pain meds had made me nauseous all morning, and my head throbbed with the dull ache of healing. But when my mom called me downstairs, voice all soft and motherly, I thought maybe, just maybe, she was going to surprise me with something nice. A little kindness. A reprieve. God, I was so stupid. My dad was already seated in his recliner, posture stiff like he was at a funeral. My mom sat across from him on the love seat, patting the space between them. "Sit, sweetheart," she said. That alone should have tipped me off. Sweetheart? She only called me that when she wanted something. Or when she was about to do something awful and needed to coat it in syrup. I sat. She handed me an envelope. I blinked. "What's this?" "Just something we've been meaning to talk to you about," she said, clasping her hands like she was on a talk show. I opened the envelope slowly, not because I was expecting bad news, but because I was so damn tired. The paper inside was stiff, formal. Printed. And then I saw it. Notice of termination of residency. My brain didn't process the words fast enough. I looked up. "What is this?" I asked. My dad cleared his throat. "It's time, kiddo. You're 19. You've been out of high school a year now. You just had your surgery," my mom added quickly. "And we've supported you through all of it, haven't we?" I nodded slowly, still not understanding. "Right," she said, her smile tightening. "So now it's time for you to be independent. We've done our part." I stared at them, heart pounding. "You're kicking me out?" My dad flinched at the word. "Don't be dramatic. We're giving you 30 days. 30 days? I just had surgery." "You're walking fine now," he said. "And you're not a kid anymore." My throat closed up. I don't have a job. I don't even have, where am I supposed to go? My mom's lips trembled. For a second, I thought she might cry. Then she said, "Look, this is hard on us too. But we have to think about your sister. The kids need space. We're converting your room into a nursery." My jaw dropped. "You're giving my room to Emily?" "She's family," my dad said. "I'm family." There was a silence. A long, deathly pause. Then my mom said the words I will never forget. "You were. But you're not a child anymore. You're not our responsibility." My vision blurred. My fingers crushed the eviction notice into a crumpled ball before I realized what I was doing. "You're choosing her over me." "We're choosing what's best for the family," my dad said. I stood up. My legs wobbled from the pain in my abdomen, but I didn't care. I needed to leave before I said something I'd regret. But the thing is, I did regret something. I regretted not saying more. I spent that night packing in silence. They didn't help. They didn't even check on me. The next morning, I drove away in the beat-up Honda my grandpa left me before he died. Everything I owned was stuffed into the backseat. No savings. No plan. Just a body full of stitches and a heart full of betrayal. I slept in parking lots. Couch surfed when I could. Took jobs washing dishes, cleaning motel rooms, driving Uber, anything that paid enough to keep me fed. Every night, I thought about them, in that cozy house, in my room, holding Emily's kids while I froze in my car. And every night, I whispered the same thing to myself like a prayer. Someday, they'll regret this. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I would make it. And when I did, they'd see just how not family I could be. I learned quickly that sleep wasn't peaceful in a Honda Civic. The back seat was too small for my legs to stretch out, and I had to curl into this awkward fetal position just to fit. Every morning I woke up with a crick in my neck and a soreness in my back that made me feel twice my age. The worst nights were winter ones, when frost laced the windows and the breath inside the car turned to mist. You'd be surprised how loud a parking lot gets at 2 a.m. The rustle of raccoons. The hum of late-night delivery trucks. The occasional knock on the window from security guards telling me to move along. I got good at pretending I wasn't scared. Good at lying to myself that this was just temporary. But every night I stared at the roof of that car, hands tucked under my hoodie for warmth, whispering the same thing. Just survive. Survive and remember. During the day, I wore smiles like armor. I showered at the gym and ate $1 menu meals. I got a job bussing tables at a 24-hour diner downtown. The pay was shit, but the tips were decent, and the manager didn't ask too many questions. The people I worked with thought I was quirky, always hanging around late, never talking about my home life, sleeping in the employee break room by accident. No one knew the Civic was home. Every paycheck, I split down the middle. Half for food and gas. Half into a savings account I named the exit. I didn't know what I was exiting to yet. But I knew I wasn't staying where I was. One night, around 3 a.m., I sat in the car behind the diner with a notebook in my lap. The heat had died 20 minutes ago, and my fingers ached. But I didn't stop writing. At the top of the page, I scrawled. How to never need anyone again. And underneath that, a list. 1. Get a job that pays 6 figures. 2. Build something no one can take from you. 3. Make them see. Make them beg. 4. Never forgive. 5. Never forget. Revenge isn't always fire. Sometimes it's ice. Cold, calculated. I stopped crying in week 3. Not because I stopped feeling, but because crying wasted energy I needed to survive. But even on the worst nights, when the ache in my stomach matched the one in my chest, I never called them. I knew what would happen if I did. They'd answer with forced concern. Ask if I'd found a job yet. Offer to let me sleep on the couch for a night or two. But they wouldn't give me my room back. Wouldn't undo what they did. They'd toss me breadcrumbs and call it love. No. I wouldn't give them that power again. 3 months in, I found a Craigslist ad that changed everything. Startup seeks obsessed assistant. Must be hungry. Must be tireless. Must hate excuses. Paid internship with potential equity. I almost scrolled past it, but the words must be hungry hit different when you've eaten crackers for dinner. I emailed the founder at 2:47 a.m. and got a response 7 minutes later. Interview tomorrow. Noon. Be there. The office was a converted garage with 3 desks, 2 monitors, and more Red Bull cans than I could count. The founder, Jason, was my age but talked like he'd already lived 5 lives. He grilled me hard. Asked if I was good under pressure. I sleep in my car, I told him. Pressure is breakfast. He didn't flinch. You know what equity means? It means one day I don't just work here. I own part of it. He smiled. You'll be broke for a while. But if you don't quit, you'll never be broke again. I started the next day. Working at the startup was brutal. 14-hour days. 7 days a week. No health insurance. No perks. But I was good at making chaos look clean. Jason noticed. Within 6 months, I was running operations. By the end of the year, I had my own desk. And by year 2, I had shares, real ones. Ownership. I moved out of the Civic and into a shared apartment with 3 other broke dreamers. It wasn't much, but the first night in a bed felt like luxury. And the first paycheck with a comma in it? I stared at it for a full minute. Then I walked to the bank and added it to the exit. But now, I had a better name for it. The payback. Late one night, Jason and I sat on the roof of the new office. We just secured our series of funding, $7 million in venture capital. My shares? Worth low 6 figures. We drank cheap champagne out of plastic cups and watched the city lights flicker. What drives you? He asked me. I didn't hesitate. Pain. He didn't laugh. He just nodded, like he understood. The Civic's still parked in my garage. I keep it like a trophy. The back seat, the tears, The frost on the windows, I remember it all. And now, I remember one more thing. My parents' mortgage lender. Their foreclosure status. The desperate voicemail my mom left me last week. Sweetheart. Please. We didn't know. We didn't think you'd. Please call us back. They need me. But I'm not their child anymore. I'm their last hope. It started with coins. Literal coins, the ones I found under diner booths when I swept up after graveyard shifts. I kept them in a mason jar I'd hidden in the trunk of my Civic, labeled with a Sharpie, Freedom Fund. Back then, it was barely enough for gas. But now? Now I count my savings with commas, and my coins are investments, stocks, startups, patents, real estate. My mason jar became a spreadsheet, then a portfolio, then a legacy.
After we closed our Series A, I didn't rest.
Where most employees would have celebrated with vacations or new cars, I reinvested every cent I had. Jason saw it. You don't have a ceiling, he told me one night. Most people do. He was wrong about one thing, though, I did have a ceiling. My parents built it. And I was determined to blow it sky high. Year 3 was brutal. The startup exploded, and so did the chaos. We went from 10 employees to 50 in 6 months. I was promoted to Chief Operating Officer, running logistics, HR, and crisis control while Jason handled tech and fundraising. Every failure came to me first. Every fire, I had to put out. At least twice a week I slept in the office. But I didn't complain. Every minute I stayed awake, I imagined my mom walking into my old room, Emily's room now, and realizing how quiet the house felt without me. Every time I answered a 3 a.m. Slack message, I pictured my dad's face when he realized I now made more in a month than he had in a year. Petty? Maybe. But pain has a memory. And mine kept receipts. I started documenting everything, not just the business wins, but my transformation. Photos. Journals. Bank statements. Headshots. Contracts. Video logs. All organized in a folder on my desktop titled, Exhibit A. I didn't know yet how I'd use it. I just knew I would. By the time I turned 24, I'd negotiated us into an acquisition offer, $18 million. Jason cried in the boardroom. I didn't. Instead, I looked down at the dotted line where I had to sign, took a slow breath, and thought. They said I wasn't family anymore. I signed. My cut? $1.7 million after taxes. I didn't splurge. No designer clothes. No luxury cars. Just one thing. A quiet, 2-bedroom condo in the city with high ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a rooftop view of the skyline I used to sleep under. The walls were white. Clean. Empty. Perfect for building a new life. I started my own company 6 months later. This time, it was mine. No partners. No co-founders. Just me, an idea, and all the pain I'd harvested like fuel. I called it Vanta, short for Advantage in the Dark. It was a tech consulting firm focused on helping small businesses scale. My niche? Companies with bad reputations. I gave them new identities, new strategies, new public images. In other words, I taught people how to become who the world said they couldn't be. Because that's what I did. Clients poured in. First the struggling mom-and-pop shops. Then mid-tier startups. Then multimillion-dollar enterprises desperate to keep their names out of the news. By year 2, Vanta was clearing 7 figures. I was on podcasts. Panels. Forbes 30 Under 30 list. People called me a phoenix. A prodigy. The queen of second chances. They didn't know I didn't believe in second chances. Not for everyone. Not for the people who watched me drown and chose to save someone else. One afternoon, while reviewing contracts at my desk, my phone lit up with a notification. Voicemail, one new message from Mom. I hadn't saved her number, but I recognized it. My heart didn't even twitch. I clicked play. Honey. I know it's been a long time. We've made mistakes. But your father and I are going through something terrible right now. The bank, they're threatening to take the house. We don't know where else to turn. Please. Just call us. No, I'm sorry. No, we were wrong. Just desperation. I deleted the voicemail. Then I opened a browser tab and typed in their address. Foreclosure proceedings. Past due balance, $94,000. Final hearing, 3 weeks away. I leaned back in my chair. And I smiled. I wasn't going to stop the foreclosure. Not yet. But I was going to attend the hearing. In person. And when they saw me, they wouldn't see a lost, broken kid begging for their love. They'd see a woman who rebuilt herself from ashes. And now? Now she owned the fire. The courthouse smelled like old paper and cheap coffee. I arrived 10 minutes early and sat in the back, dressed in all black. Blazer. Slacks. Heels that clicked with every step. My hair was slicked into a low bun, and my makeup was precise. Sharp enough to cut. I didn't come to make a scene. I came to be seen. And when the bailiff called the foreclosure case of Walter and Elaine Parker, my parents, I watched them shuffle into the courtroom like ghosts. They didn't see me at first. My dad wore his old construction jacket. His shoulders were stooped, as if life had pressed its thumb down a little harder since I'd last seen him. My mom had her hair pinned up in the same twist she wore to Sunday church, though her roots were grayer now. She held a worn manila folder like it might save them. I watched as they spoke to the judge. Heard every excuse. The bank made a mistake. We were waiting on a loan. We just need more time. But the numbers didn't lie. 3 years of missed payments. Maxed out credit cards. No income to cover the mortgage. They were drowning. And they knew it. My mom turned slightly as she stepped away from the bench, and that's when she saw me. Our eyes locked. For a second, she didn't move. Just froze, blinking like I might vanish if she looked away. Then her mouth parted. I tilted my head slightly. No smile. No wave. Just acknowledgement. You wanted me gone, I thought. Now I'm the last face you'll see before you lose everything. After court, I slipped out before they could catch me. I wasn't ready yet. I needed the slow burn. Let them sweat. Let them wonder. Let them remember every time they told themselves I was too dramatic, too emotional, too weak to ever make it without them. I wanted that fear to fester. Over the next 2 weeks, I turned into a ghost in their life, the kind that shows up only when the lights go out. I sent a bouquet to their house with no card. Had a food delivery arrive under the name Not Family Anymore. Donated $100 to their church in their name, just to make the congregation talk. I didn't touch the foreclosure. I didn't lift a finger to help. But I made sure they knew I could have. And chose not to. Then the calls started. First, blocked numbers. Then texts from unknown ones. I don't know if this is still your number. Please talk to us. Then came Emily. I didn't think she'd swallow her pride long enough to dial me, but she did. They're losing the house, okay? She snapped over the phone. I know they made mistakes. But they're still mom and dad. They need help. You mean like I needed help when they kicked me out with stitches still healing? Silence. You have money now, she said, like it was an accusation. You could stop this. So could you, I replied. But I guess being the favorite doesn't come with a savings account. She hung up. A few days before the final court date, I got another voicemail, this one from my dad. His voice cracked. Kiddo. We messed up. We know that. But this is our home. Your mother's breaking down. I'm begging you. Just talk to us. I listened to it once. Then again. Then I forwarded it to a separate folder on my hard drive labeled for later. I wasn't done yet. 2 days before the final hearing, I booked a meeting at their bank. I walked in, flashed my business card, and sat down with the branch manager, a mild, jittery guy named Grant. Hypothetically, I said, if someone paid off a delinquent mortgage account right before foreclosure, what happens? Grant blinked. Well, that would cancel the proceedings. The loan would be reinstated. The owners would keep the house. And would the payment source be revealed to them? He shook his head. Not unless they're given that information directly. I smiled. Perfect. That night, I wrote a check. Full amount. No note. No name. Just power. I didn't want them to lose the house. That would be too easy. I wanted them to almost lose it, to feel it slipping through their fingers, and then believe some miracle saved them. Because the real revenge would come when they learned who the miracle was. The foreclosure was supposed to be finalized at 10 a.m. on a Monday. I already knew what would happen, I'd made sure of it, but I still logged into the public records database at 10:01, just to see the update. Case closed. Mortgage reinstated. Just like that, they were safe. But safety has a price. And in their case? It was confusion. They didn't find out right away. According to the court documents, the paperwork would hit their mailbox within 48 hours. Until then, they'd live in limbo, believing the house was gone, praying for some divine twist of fate. I gave them one. But not for free. The first text came from my mom that same night. I don't know what happened. The court says the house is no longer being foreclosed. Did you do something? I didn't answer. The second came an hour later. Please. Just tell us if it was you. I need to know. Still nothing from me. Silence is a language, and I was fluent in it now. 2 days passed. Then I got a knock at the door. I almost didn't answer it. But curiosity is a beast. I checked the peephole. My mother. Alone. She looked old. Not just older, but aged in the way grief does to people who think they're above consequences. Her coat was wrinkled, her lipstick uneven, and she clutched her purse like it held her spine together. I opened the door a crack. No greeting. No warmth. Hi, she said quietly. I didn't know where else to go. I raised an eyebrow. You came to the right place for that. She swallowed. Did you save the house? I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just stared. Tears welled up in her eyes. Why would you do that if you still hate us? Hate is active, I said. What I feel now is passive. Like watching strangers from the window. But we're not strangers. I tilted my head. Didn't you say I wasn't family? She flinched. That was wrong. We were. Under pressure. We thought. You thought Emily needed space, I snapped. You thought I could survive alone because I didn't have kids, or a man, or a meltdown. You thought pain makes people stronger, so you gave me all of it. She started crying. I let her. Your father's sick, she said finally. The stress has been. I held up a hand. Let me stop you before you start stacking guilt like poker chips. I'm not trying to guilt you. You're not trying not to, either. She sniffled. I just wanted to say thank you. If it was you. Thank you. Now that was interesting. Humility. It didn't suit her. But it intrigued me. So I opened the door wider. Not enough to invite her in. But enough to show her I had the power now. You're welcome, I said. And then, just when she thought that was it, I added, but that wasn't a gift. That was an investment. She blinked. In what? In your future debt. She left after that, shell-shocked. I gave her nothing else. But the next day, the phone rang. This time? It was my father. His voice was raw. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, I replied. Just listen. And I told him everything. Not about the check. Not about the condo or the job or the millions. No, that part came later. I told him about the Civic. The frost. The hunger. The humiliation. I told him how it felt to walk out of a surgery recovery and into exile. How the couch at a friend's house felt warmer than my own bed had ever been. I told him that he and Mom didn't raise a daughter. They raised a weapon. And now? Now I was pointed straight at them. Can we try again? He asked. No, I said simply. But you can start paying back what you owe. He went quiet. I smiled. Not in money, I added. In truth. And with that, I hung up. I had a plan now. The next move would be public. Painfully public. But first? I needed a party. It started with an invitation. Not a phone call. Not a casual text. An embossed, black and gold envelope, hand-delivered to my parents' mailbox. Inside, on thick ivory cardstock, it read. You are cordially invited. To the grand opening of Vanta Global HQ. An evening of elegance, innovation, and legacy. Hosted by, my full name CEO and founder, Vanta Global. Dress code, formal attire. RSVP required. I included their names on the guest list, but only barely. No plus ones. No special designation. Just 2 more names among the city's elite. And yet I knew they'd come. Because curiosity is more powerful than pride when people think they've been left behind. The venue was immaculate. Downtown, in the heart of the business district, with a rooftop view that shimmered with city lights. The Vanta logo glowed 10 feet tall on the side of the building. A string quartet played near the champagne bar. LED screens displayed press clippings, accolades, and my Forbes 30 Under 30 cover. Every guest was met by a host, handed a flute of champagne, and told to mingle. My parents arrived late. I saw them the moment they walked in. Hesitant. Understated. My mother in an old evening gown that once fit better. My father in a suit that probably hadn't been worn since a funeral. They looked small. And I looked untouchable. I didn't approach them. I let them watch me first, commanding the room, laughing with investors, posing with journalists. And then, when their eyes had tracked me long enough, when they started whispering to each other like children wondering if they should ask for candy, I nodded at one of the hosts. Bring them to me. They were escorted like guests of honor. But they weren't honored. They were summoned. Nice of you to come, I said coolly, sipping my drink. Enjoying yourselves? My mother nodded. It's beautiful. I had no idea you'd become more than nothing? I offered, arching an eyebrow. She winced. I'm sorry, she said. I don't know what else to say. How about why you said it in the first place? My father cleared his throat. We thought we were doing the right thing. You weren't. I know, he said. We know. A pause. I looked at them both, really looked, and then leaned in slightly. There's a reason I invited you here tonight. And it's not just to make you feel small. That's a bonus. My mom paled. This company, this building, it was built from the pieces you broke. Every policy I wrote, every employee I hired, every ethic I enforce, it all came from a place of knowing what it feels like to be discarded. Unseen. Unloved. My voice was calm. Dead calm. You taught me how to survive, by trying to destroy me. They didn't speak. What could they say? I gestured toward the nearest screen, now playing a slideshow of my milestones. You see that car? I asked. That's the Civic I lived in. For 7 months. While you redecorated my room for Emily's second baby. My mother covered her mouth. I didn't stop. You see that apartment? The one I paid for with 3 jobs? That's where I taught myself to code. While you told the neighbors I'd taken time off to travel. I stepped back. You see that magazine cover? The one where I'm called a genius? That's what happens when someone remembers everything. They stood frozen, like statues no one wanted to claim. And then, I gave them the final blow. Your house didn't get saved by God, I said. It got saved by me. An anonymous payment. Paid in full. You're welcome. My father looked like he might faint. My mother sank into a nearby chair, mascara running. You did that? She whispered. I nodded. And now, I said, I'm erasing that debt. Her face lit up. Until I added, by making it public. I turned to the event coordinator and gave the signal. The LED screen behind us blinked. Then displayed. My parents said I wasn't family anymore. Now they begged me for help. A special presentation by my name. Their faces turned from red to white to something close to transparent. I stepped onto the small stage. The music dimmed. The room turned. And I began to speak. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Tonight is more than a launch party. It's a reckoning. This building represents not just a company, but a resurrection. A warning. A tribute. I pointed at the screen. My parents are here tonight. Gasps. They are not honored guests. But they are necessary ones. Because without them, I wouldn't have learned the most powerful lesson of all. That blood doesn't mean loyalty. That family can betray you deeper than any enemy. And that survival isn't about kindness. It's about remembering. The room was silent when I stepped down. My parents were gone. They'd left mid-speech, probably too humiliated to breathe. But I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in their lives, they had no control. And for the first time in mine, I had all of it. I hadn't celebrated a birthday in 6 years. Not properly. Not since that birthday, the one where I came home from the hospital expecting cake, only to be told my bed was gone, my room emptied, and my future severed like it was never mine to begin with. So I made this one count. I rented the entire top floor of the most luxurious hotel in the city. Not a ballroom. An entire floor. 3 suites turned into lounges. A rooftop terrace transformed into a velvet and glass garden. A guest list so exclusive, people practically begged to be included. But there was one name on that list that stirred every pot I had boiling. Emily. Yes, Emily. The golden daughter. The womb of three, the chosen one, the excuse they gave for making me disposable. I invited her personally. And to my surprise, she came. She walked in like she still owned every room, long lashes, tight dress, fake humility. She hugged people she hadn't seen in years with that practiced smile she'd mastered in high school. When she saw me across the room, her expression faltered, just slightly, before she straightened her shoulders and strutted over. "Happy birthday," she said, like we were friends. "Thank you," I replied, sipping my drink. "I didn't think you'd come. Mom begged me to." Ah. There it was. Honesty, finally. She didn't come herself? She's not feeling well. I imagine not, I said. Humiliation is hard to digest. Emily rolled her eyes. You've made your point. You got your revenge. No, I said sharply. That wasn't revenge. That was just the trailer. I let her linger in that silence. Then I nodded toward the stage, where my assistant gave the cue to cue up the video presentation, a yearly tradition my company insisted on doing, highlighting milestones and photos from the CEO's life. Except this year, I directed it myself. And this year? I told the whole story. The lights dimmed. The screens lit up. Images flickered across the room. Me as a child, beaming with a homemade cake. Me as a teen, working 2 jobs. Me post-surgery, face pale, lying in a recovery bed. Alone. Then the shot of the eviction notice. The trunk of the Civic, packed with clothes. Receipts. Bank statements. Emails I sent to friends begging for a couch to sleep on. All time-stamped. All real. Then, the glow-up. Headshots. Contracts. Press releases. But the narration? That was the best part. It was my voice. They told me I wasn't family anymore. They chose comfort over character. But I didn't fold. I bled. I broke. And then I built. They thought they buried me. But they didn't know I was a seed. The room erupted in applause when it ended, except for Emily. She looked like she'd swallowed a knife. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because when I begged for help, I said, you were silent. You let them choose you. You took my room, my place, my bloodline. I didn't ask for that. No. You just never said no to it. She turned to leave. But I wasn't done. Wait, I said. I have a gift for you. She paused, suspicious. I handed her a small envelope. Inside, a check. $1 million. Her eyes widened. What is this? Payment, I said. For taking my place in the family. For carrying the burden of their love. For everything I wouldn't want anymore. I don't understand. You will. When they fall again. When they call you, crying. When they beg you next time. Her hand trembled. They're your problem now, I said. Not mine. The birthday party ended with me alone on the rooftop, sipping champagne, watching the city lights shimmer like stars I could now reach. I didn't need candles or cake. I had silence. Power. And a front row seat to their downfall. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to receive. A private investigator I occasionally hired, mostly for corporate clients, left me a voicemail. You're gonna want to see this. It's about your parents. And Emily. I called him back immediately. What he told me unraveled the last thread of guilt I'd ever clung to. Years ago, when I was 17, I applied for a scholarship, full ride, prestigious, the kind of thing that could have changed my entire trajectory. I remember the letter saying I was a finalist. Then. Nothing. I never got a follow-up. No rejection. No acceptance. Just silence. At the time, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe someone better got it. But now I knew the truth. They withdrew my application. My mother intercepted the follow-up letter, and forged my response, declining the scholarship. Why? To keep me home. To take care of Emily's first baby while she got back on her feet. The pie found the paper trail. Emails. Scans. Her handwriting. A literal scanned signature form with my name signed by her, then forwarded to the scholarship office with an apology for a change in direction. And Emily? She knew. She asked her to do it. I stared at the documents in my inbox for a full hour. No tears. Just heat. Cold, molten heat. The kind that hardens you from the inside out. They hadn't just failed me. They sabotaged me. And now? Now I had proof. The next morning, I filed a lawsuit. Civil. Emotional damages. Fraud. Educational interference. I didn't care if I won. I wanted discovery. I wanted depositions. I wanted their lies on public record. I wanted every whisper, every manipulative justification, every gaslighting tactic to be transcribed and stamped by the state. And when the news leaked, because of course it did, my mother called. She didn't even try to deny it. Just sobbed into the phone, repeating the same 3 words over and over. We were desperate. The court date came quickly. They didn't have the money for a high-powered lawyer. I did. My legal team filed motions with surgical precision. Every record. Every receipt. Every communication extracted, dissected, exposed. My mother cried on the stand. My father stared at the floor. Emily. She didn't show up. But the judge saw enough. The final moment came when the judge turned to me and asked, "What resolution are you seeking, Ms. Parker?" I stood slowly. Calm. Polished. Destroyer. "I don't want their money," I said. "I want their silence." A murmur swept the courtroom. "I want a court-enforced non-contact order. I want them legally prohibited from reaching out to me, by mail, by phone, through family or friends. I want my name erased from their mouths." "And the emotional damages?" the judge asked. I smiled faintly. "Donate the award to the scholarship fund I never got. In my name." Gavel down. Case closed. Not with vengeance. But with erasure. Outside the courthouse, my father tried to approach me. Security stepped in before he reached me, but I looked him dead in the eyes one last time and said, "You tried to kill my future. I just buried yours." The court order was delivered by certified mail. I knew because my mother tried to reject it at first, told the delivery guy she didn't know the sender. But legal documents don't care about denial. Eventually, she signed for it. And just like that, I was legally gone. No more pleading voicemails. No more teary texts. No more passive-aggressive guilt trips through mutual friends. They weren't allowed to speak my name. Even Emily stayed quiet, I assume out of shame or fear, probably both. The check I gave her had cleared, but she hadn't touched a cent of it. Maybe she finally realized what it cost. But I wasn't done yet. Because revenge isn't just about winning. It's about being remembered. The final blow came on a Tuesday morning. It started with an envelope, another one, poetic as hell, but this one wasn't from them. It was to them. Inside was a formal invitation. Black linen paper. Gold foil lettering. No return address. Just a message. Notice of termination of legacy. To Walter and Elaine Parker. This letter serves as your final communication from your estranged daughter, my full name. As of today, your names will be removed from all personal, professional, and philanthropic documentation attached to my legacy. You will not appear in future press. You will not be referenced in interviews. You will not be thanked in speeches, acknowledged in writing, or cited in any institutional history attached to my accomplishments. When I die, your names will not be on the tombstone. You are not my family. You are not my origin story. You are not even footnotes. You are deleted. Consider this your official notice. Sincerely. The daughter who survived without you. I had it hand-delivered by a courier wearing a 3-piece suit. He said my mother collapsed onto the porch, sobbing. My father tried to chase the car. The neighbors watched. Gossiped. Spread it like wildfire. 2 days later, their church removed them from the volunteer board. Not because I asked, I never needed to. Humiliation spreads on its own. That week, the press ran a piece about me. From disown to dynasty, how, my name, became her own legacy. They asked about my upbringing. I gave them silence. They asked about my parents. I gave them fiction. They died years ago, I said. When I was 19. And it wasn't a lie. Not really. The final act came in the form of a will. I drafted it with my attorney, line by line, with icy clarity. All assets to be donated. All family ties severed. All mentions of Walter and Elaine Parker, struck. If they outlive me, they get nothing. If they die before me, they get erased. I signed it with the same hand that once begged for their love, now it wielded a pen like a blade. It's been 3 years since I last saw them. 3 years since the courtroom. Since the non-contact order. Since I mailed that final letter that carved a line they could never cross again. They never tried. Maybe out of shame. Maybe out of fear. Maybe because they finally understood what it felt like to be unchosen. I never looked back. Not once. Closure didn't come with fireworks. It came quietly, in moments. Tiny, forgettable things that added up to peace. Like the first time I laughed and didn't think of them. Or when I signed a deal for my second company and didn't imagine them watching. Or when someone asked about my family and I said, without hesitation, I don't have one. And felt no pain. I still keep the Civic. Parked in its own private garage bay, cleaned once a month, never driven. Not because I need it. But because I earned it. Every dent. Every oil stain. Every tear cried into the steering wheel. That car was my first home, the place I learned that survival isn't noble. It's necessary. It's where I stopped being a daughter. And became something else entirely. People ask me if I ever forgive them. Here's what I say. Forgiveness is like giving CPR to someone who stabbed you. Maybe they didn't mean to. Maybe they panicked. But you're still bleeding. And I'm not a nurse. Emily tried to reach out once, through a third party. Said she wanted to talk. Said she was trying to change. I told them to let her know. You don't get to change what you kept silent about. And that was that. In my office, there's a wall, clean, white, sacred. No degrees. No accolades. Just one framed item, the eviction notice. Below it, etched in glass, a quote. They said I wasn't family anymore. Now they're not even memory. Sometimes, when I walk past it, I pause. Not out of pain. Not even pride. Just recognition. A nod to the ghost I used to be, the version of me that slept in a car and whispered revenge like a prayer into the night air. She's still here. But now? She's quiet. Because justice? Justice doesn't scream. It signs. It seals. And it disappears.